Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Hey, Hanya. Long time no see. I mean, I know you popped in at the end last time, but you know, it's not quite the same. Happy to have you. Hey, Susan. Hey, Joanna. What are you doing in here? How are you? I just wanted to tell you guys, I pinned this book because it's the book I'm reading right now outside of book club, and I found a shop on TikTok that has like used copies of it. So if anyone still is looking for like fun things to read, it's a full book nearing the end of it. Oh, good. I just saw I had to take Lou to the dentist. Oh, my daughter just had her first dentist appointment too. Obviously, Joanna knows her name, but I don't say it here on live. But yes, we also just did our dentist appointment. It's true. Hey, Jen. So if anyone's looking for a new author to enjoy, I'm really enjoying this one, and I like that it's a used copy. All right, text me, Joanna. Come visit. That'd be fun. We'll take Leo to Disneyland. Hey, Jen. How was your weekend? How was everyone's weekend? Anyone do anything fun? Anything exciting? I was in a yarn group this weekend, and a student that had in there was, that's exciting. What are you working on, like any cool project this particular? TikTok being glitching hard. Oh no, what kind of glitching? Do I need to restart the live? Because I can if I need to. Is it you or is it me? Or is it both? I love a good yarn project. It's on your end. Oh, that sucks. I'm good, Isabella. How are you? How's school? How's everyone else doing? Everyone feeling good? Feeling fine? It seems smooth on this end. Not to, yeah, I mean, seriously. You could say something and then it could be, I know. Trust me, I know. It's like, oh, it seems like it's really going well. And then it shuts the live down and it's like, haha, you thought. And then they're like, just kidding, your live access has been banned for 7 months. And we're like, cool, thanks for that. Thank you. Hey, Naisa. Today's been good. Yay, that's wonderful. I love to hear that. We love to hear about a good day at school. Hey, Slav. Love to see it, love to hear it. It's your bestie's birthday. That's exciting. Speaking of besties, hey Karen. I never wake up on my own 40 morning pounds by a puppy. That's fair. That is totally fair. Well, we're getting to the end of this book and we'll be starting a new book soon, which is exciting for all of us. Brady's still adjusting to mountain time. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You're still in Utah. How long are you in Utah for? How long you got? Those pictures were amazing. What a beautiful scenery. Oh my gosh. So cool. So cool. Thursday. Okay, so about a week. That's cool. Very excited. I remember how hooked I was by the end of this book. Yeah, for sure. Okay, machine. Why are you extra loud right now? I can't wait, Amanda. I can't wait. I'm very excited to see. Oh, finally the noise is gone. Yes, I love this mug also. It's one of my favorite mugs. I use it a lot. Today we have a very busy day. After book club, we're going to baby class, and then we have a picnic play date. My machine definitely needs descaling. I've been using my French press because it's dead. Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, Cindy. Long time no see. How are you? Yummy. Delightful. Delightful. Let's get you guys on the tripod. You may need to be replaced. Yellow light. Oh, I think you could probably get it fixed at the least instead of replaced. Don't they do repairs and stuff? I don't know which is cheaper, if I'm being honest. Good morning. We're going to be starting a new book at the end of this week, Cindy, if you're interested in that. So good. Hey, Jillian. I'm just trying to get some caffeine in my blood since I've been up for hours already. Okay, I think you guys are a little low. Ooh. So we have a couple of new books coming up. Yeah, you seriously have, Susan, that's true. Oh, so I got it at Costco and the warranty cancellation should be free. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, that's good. So the next book that we're reading is called, oh crap, what is it called? Careless People. And it's a tell-all book by a woman who worked at Facebook in the height of all the craziness. That should be very interesting. And then after that, we're reading a book called American Fantasy, which is about a woman who just got divorced and her friend invites her to go on a boy band cruise. Why is that not our life? Like, any of us who have been divorced, why did we not get invited on boy band cruises? I don't know. Yeah, I'm in for both also. The reason that I pinned this book right here, so I've been dying to read American Fantasy, but it's not out yet. It comes out in April. So I went and researched that author, and I'm reading this book, which is also by that author, and I'm really enjoying her writing style, which is why I pitched it to book club instead of reading American Fantasy on my own. It sounded like a book club thing. Of course, come on the boy band cruise anyway, Cindy. But what I was going to say was I found this book used here on TikTok, so if anyone wants to read the same book that I'm reading outside of book club, this is an easy way to get it and get a used copy and not put like more trash into the universe, you know? So that's why I pinned that book, because they don't have this book on TikTok, so I can't pin this one, even though we're finishing this today. So, or not today. We only have a couple more chapters of this. We'll probably finish this by Wednesday, I'd say. Maybe even tomorrow if we read a lot today. And then we'll start Careless People either Wednesday or Thursday, and then American Fantasy when it comes out, because it's just not out yet. Otherwise I would read it immediately, but it's just not out. I think it comes out April 7th, 14th, something like that. I don't know. I pre-ordered it, so don't worry about that. I already paid for it. We're not waiting for that one for the library. I really want that one, so I bought it. So anyway, no, I didn't even know Tim Curry had a memoir. That sounds like it would be interesting. Ooh, we should put that on our list. He's had a very storied career. Wow, I bet that's a really good one. Did he by chance do it before he got sick? Do you think maybe he did the audiobook? Because I love listening to an audiobook by someone like that who like says it in their own voice. But if it's someone else, I don't really want to listen to it. So I don't know. I guess I'll look into it if it was before or after. It came out last year, actually, definitely not. Oh, yeah, okay. So then maybe we'll just read it, which is fine. Like, okay, I'm gonna tell you guys, I listened to, so Cher is putting out her memoir or autobiography, whatever you want to call it, in 2 parts. There's part 1 and part 2. And I listened to part 1. I'm not even a Cher fan per se, but I just thought, like, of course she's had a very interesting life. Why wouldn't I be interested in seeing or hearing more about it? But like, she does the intros to some chapters, but she doesn't actually do the reading. It's very confusing. She'll be like, so in this chapter, you're going to hear about this and this and that and that. And now I'm going to turn it over to my friend so-and-so to read to you. What? You're already in the studio. Just read the chapter. You're right there. Am I crazy? Like, I don't know. It's weird. And the thing is, the person she has doing the reading is Stephanie J. Block, which any of you Broadway girlies will know. She is a very fantastic Broadway performer who played Cher on Broadway, but like, it's still odd because then you have 2 voices for the same character. Oh, scavenger hunt, very exciting. So anyway, let's get to reading. We'll read as much as we can of Tale of Sorcery today, see how far we get. And then, I mean, like, so this is other stuff. This is not book back here. So this is all we have left to read, just this little chunk right here. So we're on chapter 21 today, and it's called The Sorcerer's Vault. So let's see how far we get, and then we'll touch base on Careless People after. In the chamber of the emotional challenge, Bristol and the delegates stood before the double doors at the top of the stairs. They were equally encouraged and exhausted after completing the physical, mental, and emotional challenges, but nothing could physically, mentally, or emotionally prepare them for what was about to happen next. The deadliest and most dangerous creature that ever existed was lurking somewhere beyond those doors, and even though they didn't know what to expect, they all had an eerie feeling that the creature was expecting them. Okay, remember, this is the end, Bristol reminded the others. If we survive whatever's waiting behind these doors, we win. Lucy, Ryder, and Gobzella took a deep breath and tightened their grips on their weapons. Whoa. When you say it like that, it really puts into perspective that they're the only ones who survived, huh? Or so far. I don't even know if all 4 of them will make it to the end, but there's only 3 besides Bristol left right now. Jeez. Should we take bets on what this creature is? Lucy asked. I'm guessing it's an extinct dragon species, Ryder said. If so, we have to stay as still and silent as possible. Dragons don't attack unless they feel threatened, but the minute that they think you're an enemy, there's practically nothing you can do to stop them. Maybe it's an animal from mythology, Gobzella said. I'm picturing creature with head of lion, body of bear, fangs of snake, and legs of horse. She'll be able to handle a creature like that. Remind me of a goblin I dated one time. I'm standing by my stage mother theory, Lucy said, and if that's the case, everyone just call me Madam Director and get ready for a rigged audition. At this point, nothing could be worse than the suspense, Bristol said. Let's just go in. Bristol slowly turned the handles and pushed open the doors, and the delegates followed her into the next chamber. They discovered the very large and very dark room on the other side, but once they were all through the doors, they realized it wasn't a room at all. They had entered an infinite space that stretched for miles in every direction. The ground was flooded in a shadow pool of crystal clear water that came up to their ankles. The water perfectly reflected thousands of stars twinkling from the night sky above them. The reflection gave the illusion that the stars went on forever all around them, but the illusion was interrupted by the ripples that their footsteps created. The double doors shut behind the delegates and they sank into the water and disappeared. Oh, the doors sank into the water and disappeared. Eesh. The delegates wandered around the endless space but didn't find anything tall except for a rectangular mirror. Bristol peered into the mirror and only saw her and her friend's reflections staring back at them. Why would the most dangerous creature in history need a mirror? Ryder asked. Or all this water? Gobzella asked. Maybe it's a narcissistic shack, Lucy shrugged. The delegates spread out and continued searching the space, but Bristol felt compelled to stay in front of the mirror. A strange feeling told her that the mirror meant more than they realized, and she just couldn't put her finger on what. After more than an hour of splashing through the area, the delegates still hadn't found anything, or anyone else. What if the creature isn't in here? Ryder said. It could have died, or maybe it escaped the temple.
You mean whole journey had been waste of time? Godzilla asked. Holy procrastination, Lucy exclaimed. Godzilla, maybe that's it. Maybe the deadliest and most dangerous creature on the planet is time. Ryder and Godzilla scrunched their foreheads. Time? Ryder asked. How you come up with that? Godzilla asked. Bristol and my old teacher, Madam Weatherbury, told us time is the most complex thing in the whole universe. Lucy explained. It's both the culprit and the solution to all your problems. You always have either too much or too little time, but never the exact amount you want. And in the end, time kills us all. The delegates considered Lucy's theory and convinced themselves that she was right, but Bristol wasn't sure. She stayed in front of the mirror, never looking away from her and the others' reflections. What does the mirror have to do with time, though? She thought out loud. If time is the deadliest creature, surely the temple would have put us face to face with a clock instead of with our own. And then Bristol went quiet. She was suddenly struck by a theory of her own. The idea was so shocking that Bristol placed a hand over her mouth. Welcome back, Anya. Oh my gosh, she whispered to herself. I think I just figured it out. The delegates gathered around Bristol and searched the mirror, looking for something hidden in her reflection. Okay, where is it, Bristol? Ryder asked. I don't see anything but us, Lucy said. That's because it is us, Bristol said. What you mean it us? Godzilla asked. The most dangerous and deadliest creature on the planet isn't an animal. It's people, Bristol explained. Think about it. Can you name another species that's caused more harm to itself or the planet? People pollute the skies, they fill the oceans with waste, and they hunt other animals into extinction. People start wars against one another, and they hate for sport. They're the only creature on Earth that lies. The delegates took a long look at themselves in the mirror, and their stomachs turned. Bristol was right. All right, but how can we defeat a creature if the creature is just people? Lucy asked. Even for sorcerer standards, that seems like a really tall order. The legend didn't say we have to defeat the creature, it says we have to face it, Bristol recalled. Perhaps that's why the mirror is here. Before going into the vault, we have to take responsibility and acknowledge all the damage that people have caused. And just like we learned from Spanky, sometimes facing the truth is the greatest challenge. And then suddenly the mirror sank into the water and disappeared just like the double doors had before. The delegates felt a powerful rumble beneath their feet, and the water was rippling wildly. Thousands and thousands of enormous gold pillars shot straight out of the water and stretched into the night sky. The water drained away, and the delegates found themselves standing on top of a silver star that was engraved into a white marble floor. The star pointed in 4 directions like a compass, and the delegates realized that the golden pillars had formed 4 endless corridors around them. As the delegates took in the amazing sight, millions of objects began materializing throughout the 4 corridors. Everything from gold to dirt appeared before their eyes in these vast spaces. We made it, Bristol said breathlessly. We're in the Sorcerer's Vault. The delegates cheered, and Godzilla lifted them off the ground in a celebratory hug. As the goblin set her friends down, a swirl of twinkling lights appeared beside them. The lights spun faster and faster, and before they could tell what was happening, a tall man was standing before them. The man had a wrinkled face, a long silver beard, and he wore a thick brown cloak with a hood over his head. The delegates were intimidated by his stern and knowing gaze, but they all took a step back. Bristol recognized this man. He had the same face as one of the 7 statues at the beginning of the temple. Are you a sorcerer? Bristol asked him. I was, he replied. Lucy gulped. So you're a ghost? I'm neither living nor dead. I'm a memory, the sorcerer said. Now that you have passed the challenges, you are welcome to take 1 item from the temple, and I'm here to assist you with your decision and help you navigate our vault. Would you like me to show you what the temple has to offer? Yes, please, Godzilla exclaimed. The sorcerer turned to the corridor with a grand gesture. It had mountains of coins, jewelry, furniture, clothing, food, wine, carriages, ships. If it's material possessions you desire, this is the gallery of goods, he said. Anything a person could ever need or want is in this gallery. All of these items belonged to the sorcerers when we were alive, and everything is still in pristine condition. The sorcerer walked around the delegates and gestured to the second corridor. It held a never-ending library with shelves so high that they disappeared into the sky. If it is knowledge you crave, this is the Library of Life, he said. Our library has a copy of every book that has ever been published, written, or even just imagined in an author's mind. Even though the founders passed away many centuries ago, you'll find that our collection is very current. The sorcerer stood before the opening of the 3rd corridor. It was lined with cupboards containing billions of scrolls, and the air was filled with floating quills taking notes on floating pieces of parchment. if it's answers that you seek, this is the foyer of facts, he said. Everything that ever happened, or is happening, or will happen is documented in these archives. The answer to the greatest mysteries on Earth can be found within these sorcerer's scrolls. The sorcerer then gestured to the fourth and final corridor. The fourth corridor contained 5 open doorways, and each doorway led to a room that was filled with thousands and thousands of bubbles. If insight you wish for, this is the Hall of Humanity, he said. By gazing into the bubbles within these doorways, you can see every present emotion on Earth. In the Hall of Dreams, each bubble contains insight to someone's greatest desires. In the Hall of Nightmares, each bubble contains insight into someone's worst fears. And in the Hall of Ideas, each bubble contains insight into someone's thoughts and opinions. The Hall of Love, well, each bubble contains insight into someone's deepest affection. And in the Hall of Hatred, each bubble contains insight into someone's most shameful prejudice. Bristol was drawn to the Hall of Humanity like a moth to a flame. She peered into each of the doorways and marveled at how beautiful and unique each of the bubbles were. The dreams sparkled and floated whimsically through the air. The nightmares were cloudy and flew erratically across the hall. The ideas had flashes of lightning and energetically bounced off each other. The love bubbles looked as if they were blushing and drifted leisurely in circles around one another, and the hate bubbles were pitch black and frozen in place. Bristol was very intrigued by the halls of humanity. She couldn't imagine all the good someone could spread with insight into people's wildest dreams, but at the same time there was something about the hall that Bristol found greatly disturbing. Why are the Hall of Nightmares and the Hall of Hatred so much fuller than the others? She asked the sorcerer. That's the unfortunate reality about humanity, he said. Their dreams, ideas, and love have never exceeded their hatred or fear, and until that changes, I'm afraid they will always be the deadliest and most dangerous species on the planet. Hearing that made Bristol feel like she had been punched, not anywhere in the body, but in her soul. She knew that humanity was capable of changing. She had seen the change that the world made, with profound changes all around her, seen it with her own eyes. But sadly, Bristol knew she would never live to see the day when the Hall of Dreams, idea, and love were the fullest. She only had a week left to live, and right now, she couldn't waste a moment of it. Sir, we know exactly what we want to take. Oh, said the sorcerer with a peculiar look. Are you sure you don't want more time to browse the corridors? Unfortunately, time is a luxury we don't have, Bristol said. We've come to the Temple of Knowledge for the Book of Sorcery. The sorcerer raised his eyebrow curiously and stroked his long beard. How interesting. Of all the possessions in this vault, the Book of Sorcery is the only thing that has already been taken. It been taken? Cobzella exclaimed. You mean this whole thing has been a complete waste? Lucy asked. Who beat the challenges before us? Ryder asked. Only one person has survived this far, the sorcerer said. Several centuries ago, a woman traveled to the temple and completed the challenges by herself. It took her over 300 years to finish, but eventually she did reach the vault. Bristol and Lucy gasped in unison, thinking the same thing. The immortal, they said. So she did get the Book of Sorcery after all, Bristol said. But if the immortal got the book, why didn't she use it to destroy the dot of her death? Why not just keep her into the bargain? Lucy asked. Ryder did a double take. Sorry, did you just say the daughter of death and the immortal? Lucy waved the subject off like those weren't important. One day we're going to take you to lunch and explain everything, she told him. The immortal must have wanted it before she made the deal with death, Bristol determined. Otherwise, how would she have known to even bring it up in the first place? Perhaps immortality wasn't what she wanted after all. Perhaps she just needed immortality to help her get the Book of Sorcery. Oh my God, these people are relentless. Please just go away. Report. Frickin' spam. I'm doing it, Anya. It's okay. I'm just blocking them all. Goodbye. Just leave us alone. Sir, this is a Walmart. I love that. This is a Denny's. Just place your order and leave. Thank you. Like the living worse. Like, why do they do it? You're not getting anywhere with us. We're a book club. We know how to read. This isn't Boomers Are Us where you can trick people. Okay, anyway. So you telling me there's something in the Book of Sorcery that's flashier than immortality? Lucy asked, and Bristol winced at the thought and turned back to the sorcerer. Sir, do you remember who the woman was or where she might have taken the book? I'm sorry, but I do not recall the woman's name, the sorcerer said. Sir, I used to work in a library, Bristol said. If the Library of Life is as grand as you say, surely there must be some sort of card catalog that keeps track of books. The sorcerer gave her another peculiar look, but this time he was impressed. Yes, follow me. The delegates followed the sorcerer into the Library of Life, and after walking more than a mile to the endless bookshelves, they stopped at a massive cabinet. The cabinet had thousands of small drawers, and like the shelves surrounding it, it was so tall that it disappeared into the night sky. The sorcerer levitated out of sight, floating toward the cabinet's highest drawers, and a few minutes later, he returned with a card. Here you are. Bristol took the card from the sorcerer and read the name written on it. Immortalia, she said. Sounds like a lounge singer, Lucy said. Wait a second, I've heard that name before. Quick, I need a history book, Bristol said, and the sorcerer led the delegates another mile into the Library of Life, into a section that held thousands of history books. Bristol rummaged through the collection until she found one dedicated to the Eastern Kingdom. She found in Queen Industria's name at the bottom of the royal family tree and then traced it backwards going up the line of succession. Her finger landed on the portrait of a young queen with very familiar features. Bristol flipped the book over and showed the portrait to the others. I knew I recognized that name. Queen Immortalia was the first woman to ever sit on the throne of the Eastern Kingdom, and there's been a woman on the throne ever since. Whoa, Lucy said. She looks just like Queen Industria and Princess Proxima. Immortalia looks like all the queens. Bristol flipped through the history book and showed her friend the portraits of all the queens from the last 3 centuries. Something tells me that's more than just a strong family resemblance, Lucy said. The immortal has been right under our noses this entire time. We have to get to the Eastern Kingdom as soon as possible. Queen Industria has the Book of Sorcery. Dun, dun, dun. But what will they take, since they still get to take something? I don't know. Chapter 22, however, is The King of Demons and the Queen of Snow. Xanthos had no idea why he had been brought to the Righteous Empire, but he knew that his chances of escaping were nearly impossible. He was curled up on the floor of his tiny cage with his hands and his feet tied behind his back and a cloth wrapped around his mouth. Xanthos was the only prisoner in the dungeon of the Righteous Palace, and his cage was surrounded by a dozen soldiers from the army of the dead. At any moment, he expected the Righteous Emperor to come stomping down the dungeon steps and use him as a prop in some macabre scheme, and that was only if the alchemists didn't find and execute him first. Oh my God! I mean, truly, how many of them are there, and why do they feel the need to do this? Okay. Sure, Kevin. Sure. Just as Xanthos started to accept his grim fate, a loud crash came from the top of the steps. 2 of the dead soldiers hurried up the stairs to inspect the source of the noise and disappeared from view. A moment later, there was another crash as the soldier toppled down the steps with his skull attached to his neck. So I read with his skull attached to his neck, and my brain said, isn't your skull always attached to his... It's with his skull without his skull attached to his neck. It's not attached to his neck. You know? Yeah. A young man in black and white checkered armor emerged down the stairs riding the second soldier like a surfboard. He raised a slingshot as he slid down the steps, launching rocks at the skeletal guards one by one. He knocked their skulls clean off their bony necks. Xanthos mumbled under his cloth, and while the headless skeletons searched the dungeon for their decapitated skulls, Elric snatched the ring of keys off the soldier's belt and raced towards Xanthos's cage. Xanthos, thank God you're still alive, Elric said. I was worried that I was going to be too late. You laughed ugly at that. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys laughed at my flub up. It didn't pull you out. It did pull you out at the moment, but at least you had a good laugh at it, right? The elf unlocked the cage door and untied the cloth wrapped around the fairy's mouth. Elric, How did you get here? Your father said he locked you up, Xanthos said. Yeah, he did. But I escaped, Elric said. Elves are horrible tailors, but luckily they're even worse architects. Can you believe our prison is made out of sticks? Xanthos was so overwhelmed with joy, tears welled up in his eyes. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for coming to rescue me. Yeah, don't mention it, Elric said. I couldn't let the righteous Empire hurt such a cute... Elric, behind you! The dead soldiers had screwed their skulls back on their necks, and they were now charging toward the elf. Elric dived out of the way, barely missing getting struck by the blades of their sword. Soldiers blocked and slammed into the bars of Xanthos' cage and knocked it over. Xanthos rolled onto the floor and desperately tried to get up, but his restraints made it impossible to stand. Elric, you gotta help me. I've gotta get off the ground or the files will start. 1 second, I'm a little busy, Elric said. The elf was fighting off soldiers 12 to 1. He rapidly fired his slingshot, shooting at their arms and legs. He couldn't keep up with their assault. A skeleton kicked Elric's legs out from underneath him, and the elf landed hard on his back. His slingshot was ripped out of his hand. Leave him alone, Xanthos yelled. The fairy rolled across the floor and knocked the soldiers off their feet, but they quickly bounced back. The skeletons surrounded Xanthos and Elric, looming toward the boys with their swords raised high above their heads. The boys winced as they anticipated being sliced, but suddenly the dark dungeon was filled with bright lights. Xanthos and Elric shielded their eyes. When their vision adjusted, they saw fire bursting up from the ground all around them. The fire distracted the skeletons and turned toward the flames in amazement. The temperature in the dungeon instantly rose to sweltering heights. Xanthos sat up on his knees and used his body to shield Elric from the heat. Get out of this dungeon before the heat kills you, he said. The elf's mouth dropped open as he watched the fire. You mean before they kill me? He said, and he pointed to the flames. Xanthos turned toward the fire and squinted at the flames. After watching for a few moments, he understood why Elric was so stunned. The dungeon wasn't filled with one powerful fire, but 12 small fires, each a set of flames shaped like a person. Oh my god, Xanthos gasped. They're people? The dead soldiers zeroed in on their new target, swinging their swords and thrusting their shields at the fire people, but the skeletons' weapons went right through them. Each fire person grabbed a soldier, wrapping their flaming arms and legs tightly around the skeletons' hollow torsos. The skeletons ran amok as they tried to extinguish the flames, slamming into the walls and each other, but the fire people never loosened their grip. They held onto the soldiers until each of their bodies crumbled into a pile of charred bones. The skeleton's ashy remains still twitched with life, but they were damaged far beyond the point of repair. Once the fire people had defeated the soldiers, they gathered around Xanthos and Elric, and the elves quickly untied Xanthos' restraints as they tried to escape the dungeon, but the fires backed them into the corner. However, the fire people didn't try to harm the boys like the skeletons. No, on the contrary, they kept their distance to make sure that Elric wasn't burned. The fire people stood eerily there, with their flaming heads pointed in Xanthos' direction. The longer he waited for them to do something, the angrier Xanthos became. You ruined my life, he yelled. Why are you doing this to me? One of the people walked to the nearest wall and waved a hand over it, burning a message into the stone bricks. We know what you are. Frustrated, Xanthos got to his feet and he walked closer to the wall and he inspected the message as if there was a hidden answer somewhere within it. I don't understand, he told them. Who are you and what do you think I am? The fire person waved their hand over the wall again, and a new message appeared. We're your family. We've been searching for you, and we need your help. What? Xanthos asked. How are we family? You're demonic among men, and the heir to the demon throne. It's your destiny to rule us. Xanthos was so baffled that he felt lightheaded. I'm sorry. You must have me mistaken for someone else. I don't even know what a demon is. Oh, Elric said. They're demons. Elric, you know who these people are? Yeah, well, sort of. I mean, I didn't know the stories about them were real. What stories? Haven't you ever heard the legend of the Demon King? Elric asked, and Xanthos stared at Elric like he was speaking a different language. Oh, it's a fable my mother used to tell me when I was younger, he said. According to the ancient myth, at the center of the earth is inhabited by a race of fiery people known as the demons. They protect our planet's core, and they keep the world spinning. They have always been a peaceful people, but a few thousand years ago, the Demon King became corrupt and waged war against humanity. He led his demons to the surface, and he caused fires that almost destroyed the planet. Thankfully, a group of sorcerers killed the Demon King and imprisoned the other demons. Without a ruler, the demons have lived in utter chaos ever since. But the legend of the Demon King states that one day a new king will be born among mankind, and it's his destiny to sit on the demon throne and restore the demons to a peaceful race that they once were. And you think I'm the Demon King? Xanthos asked. Can you blame them? Elric asked. You're a fairy that controls fire. Who would be a better candidate? The fire person waved their hand over the wall and wrote another message. Search your heart, Xanthos. You've been searching for us as much as we've been searching for you. We're your missing piece. Xanthos was speechless. For as long as he could remember, Xanthos had always been trying to fill the void in his heart. Over the years, he tried to fill it with approval, friendship, adventures, and most recently with love. However, no matter where he lived or who he met, the emptiness always returned. But what if Xanthos wasn't supposed to be fulfilled with magic or fairies or even Elric? Perhaps the demons were the missing piece all along. Unfortunately, Xanthos didn't have time to find out. As if the demons were being dragged underground by an invisible lasso, they abruptly started dropping through the floor. They held onto the ground with all their might, desperate to stay above the surface, but they weren't strong enough to fight whatever force was pulling them down. "What's happening to you?" Xanthos asked. And one demon remained and used their last bit of strength to burn another message into the wall beside them. "She's compelling us. You have to free us from her." Xanthos threw himself onto the ground and grabbed the demon's hand before they disappeared below ground. "Free you from who?" he asked. "Who's compelling you?" "The one who released us from the core. She's controlling us with the book. She's going to attack the city. She'll destroy everything if you don't stop her." Xanthos' mind was racing with dozens of questions, but he knew he only had time to ask one before the demon was pulled away. "How do I stop her?" "Find the book, recite the oath, and the throne will be yours." The demon's flaming hand slipped from Xanthos' grip and they were dragged underground. "We gotta find that book," Xanthos said. "Are you ready for that? Do you even want to be the Demon King?" Elric asked. The question had never even entered Xanthos' mind. "What choice do I have? You saw what the demon did to the soldiers. If we don't stop whoever's controlling them, the whole world will burn." Bam, bam. The boys heard a powerful commotion coming from outside. Bam, bam. They ran to the dungeon's barred window and gazed into Chariot Hills town square. Bam, bam. Xanthos and Elric were shocked to see an entire city of gold, silver, and bronze perched on clouds over the capital. Bam, bam. And even more shocking, the army of the dead was attacking it with cannons and harpoons. "That must be the Alchemy Institute," Xanthos exclaimed. "What's it doing in Chariot Hills?" Elric asked. "So that's why the Empire wanted me here," he said. "He's using me as bait for the alchemists. He led them into a trap." "But why is the Righteous Emperor attacking the alchemists?" Elric asked. "Seven wants to eliminate everyone who poses a threat to him," Xanthos said. "This could be an easy distraction. While the alchemists and the army of the dead are fighting, let's sneak out of the Righteous Palace and find the woman controlling the demons. We gotta catch her before she reaches the city. Come on." As the fairies and the witches moved down the icy tunnel in the northern mountains, they stayed hand in tight hand in a a tight huddle for warmth and protection. The girls expected the terrifying Snow Queen to lunge out of the darkness at every twist and turn, so they tiptoed through the tunnel as quietly and cautiously as possible. Pip led the shivering and trembling procession nose first, sniffing the air after every step. "Do you smell her yet?" Tangerina asked. "Will you stop asking me that?" Pip griped. "I'm sorry, these mountains are huge," Tangerina said. "I just want to make sure we're headed in the right direction." "I told you, this is the only tunnel where I caught a whiff of something besides rocks and icicles," Pip said. "Either the Snow Queen's rotting at the end of this tunnel or we're about to find a decomposing moose." "Sounds like a win-win to me," Stitches said. The fairies and the witches finally reached the end of the tunnel and entered an enormous frozen cavern. Esmeralda waved her hands and covered the stalagmites and stalactites with glowing jewels to illuminate the area. "Oh, I can't imagine Madam Weatherberry living in here," Mrs. V said. "Then again, it's amazing how far people will move for more square footage and a little high ceiling. Hoo-hoo!" "Well, living isn't how I would describe it." The fairies and the witches turned toward the unexpected voice. They were completely mesmerized when they noticed a beautiful woman with dark hair had appeared at the back of the cave. She wore a plum gown, a stylish fascinator, and a smile that was brighter than all of Esmeralda's jewels combined. "Madam Weatherberry!" Tangerina and Skylene cheered. The girls ran to embrace their old teacher with open arms, but sadly they moved right through the fairy. "Oh, sorry, I forgot," Skylene said. "Bristol told us that you're dimensionally challenged now." "Unfortunately so," Madam Weatherberry said. "But it is so wonderful to see you girls. I can't believe what beautiful young women you've become. Who are your friends?" "Well, this is Stitches, Sprout, Bibi, and Pip," Esmeralda said. "They came to live with us after the Ravencrest School of Witchcraft closed down." "Do you want to know why they call me Stitches?" the little witch asked. "Ignore her. We all do it," Tangerina said. Poor Stitches. Why are we ignoring her? I like Stitches. I don't want to ignore her. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, ladies, Madam Weatherbury said. Bristol has kept me updated on all of your trials and tribulations. I'm so proud of everything that you've accomplished. I was hoping that Bristol would bring you to visit me one day so I could congratulate you personally.
Madam Weatherbury looked around at her guests, but she didn't see everyone that she expected.
Wait a second. Why aren't Bristol and Lucy with you?
The fairies and the witches glanced at one another with distress written all over their faces. Madam Weatherbury instantly knew that something was wrong.
Ah, so this isn't a social visit, the fairy said. Tell me what has happened.
Emeralda quickly summarized the events from the past week. She told Madam Weatherbury about the fire that destroyed more than half of Ironhead, and how the world's leaders were invited to a conference of the kings at the Alchemy Institute to discuss the matter, how the alchemists were planning to eliminate Xanthos, and how Bristol was currently leading a team of delegates through the Temple of Knowledge to find the Book of Sorcery. We all knew that Xanthos is innocent, but until a couple of hours ago we didn't have any real proof, Emeralda said. And just right now in the Righteous Empire, we saw Princess Proxima summoning fire with a spell. The alchemists might be wrong about Xanthos, but they're right about the fire. It is spreading through the southern countryside as we speak and destroying everything in its path. If we don't stop it soon, the whole world is going to go up in flames.
Then why would you travel all the way here?
Madam Weatherbury asked, and Emeralda cringed, because there's only one person we know of who's powerful enough to stop a fire like that. Madam Weatherbury went very tense as she realized who Emeralda was talking about. The fairy looked over her shoulder to the frozen Snow Queen, and her guests shrieked when they discovered the monstrous witch was in the wall of ice behind her.
Ah, so you've come to set her free,
Madam Weatherbury said. Look, I know that this sounds bananas, but I don't know what else to do, Emeralda said. There's no way of telling when Bristol will be back, if Bristol will be back with the Book of Sorcery, so we have to do something drastic before. Emeralda stopped talking mid-sentence when she noticed something bizarre about the Snow Queen's frozen prison. The wall was dripping, as if one of the witch's frostbitten hands was already poking through the ice. Madam Weatherbury, are you defrosting her? The fairy turned back to the girls and let out a heavy sigh.
I am,
she said. But why? Tangerina asked.
I have my own reasons to free her, Madam Weatherbury said, although it sounds like yours are far more pressing than mine.
The fairies and the witches couldn't believe their ears. You mean you aren't going to try to talk us out of it? Skylene asked. On the contrary, Madam Weatherbury wanted to dissuade them with every fiber of her being. However, the fairy had her own plan in motion, and she knew that she would accomplish it much sooner than her former students. Much sooner with her former students' help.
I'm afraid I agree with you, Madam Weatherbury said. If the world is in danger, then we must do whatever is necessary to save it. But if you're going to free the Snow Queen, then you must be prepared to stop her by any means necessary. Are you prepared to do that?
Emeralda gulped. We are, she said with a confident nod.
Good,
Madam Weatherbury said, and she stepped out of their way.
Release her.
Ooh, that's crazy! Hold on, how much do we have? Wow. Should we try to read the next chapter? Oops, why can't I find the end of it? 23, 24. It's a long chapter, but like, we could read part of it and then we could finish tomorrow. Right? Let's try. Chapter 23 is called A War of Fire, Ice, and Alchemy. Curfew or no curfew, the citizens of Chariot Hills were getting out. Shortly after midnight, everyone in the capital was awoken by the thunderous blast of cannons being fired into town square. The citizens peeked out of their windows to see what was causing the commotion, and they were astonished to see that the Alchemy Institute was floating above their heads. However, their shock quickly turned into terror when they saw the army of the dead attacking the campus with harpoons. In a matter of minutes, the sleepy capital had turned into a dangerous battleground. The citizens began to panic, knowing that if they didn't leave Chariot Hills straight away, they may not survive until the morning. While the streets became chaotic with fleeing citizens, the army of the dead continued their ambush on the Alchemy Institute. The dead soldiers reeled in the chains of their harpoons until all 13 facilities slammed down into town square. Upon impact, the clouds beneath the campus completely vaporized. The alchemists were still stationed on the balconies below the Grand Almilary Sphere, and they watched in horror as the skeleton army marched into town square and crept toward the Institute. They've surrounded us, Dr. Steam cried. How are we going to stop them?
Dr. Storm asked. We're scientists, we're not soldiers, Dr. Stagg said. But Dr. States didn't seem nearly as distraught as his colleagues. The alchemist observed their approaching enemy like he was looking down on an opponent's chess pieces. He tapped his cane on the ground 3 times, and all the magbots along the perimeter of the campus linked arms like forming a protective barrier around the Institute. The magbots won't stand them off for long, Dr. Strand said. The soldiers outnumber them 10 to 1, Dr. Stats said. The magbots aren't supposed to stop the soldiers, Dr. States said. They're merely a distraction while we get our own troops ready. But sir, we don't have an army, Dr. Starr said. Oh, but of course we do, Dr. States grumbled. Stop being scientists for 1 minute and use your imagination. We have the greatest army the world has ever seen right at our fingertips. Everyone report to your department and wait for my commands. The army of the dead may outnumber us, but we outsmart them. Now let's go. The alchemists dispersed and hurried to their departments. Across town square, on the roof of the Righteous Palace, the Righteous Emperor was perched on a cushy throne being served wine and desserts while he watched the battle begin. The clansmen of the Righteous Brotherhood cheered the army of the dead like they were observing a sporting match. High Commander, send for the champagne, Seven ordered. The battle's gonna be finished before we know it. From what he could see, the Righteous Emperor had good reason to feel victorious. His army of the dead pelted the magbots with their swords and shields, denting and bending their metal limbs. Eventually, the dead soldiers hacked their way through the magic robots and broke through the perimeter. Once all the skeletons were past the magbots, the dead soldiers raced toward the Institute with nothing to stop them. Or so they thought. Dr. States glared at the approaching army. You heathens have already broken the law of nature, he said under his breath, but let's see how you do against the laws of physics. The alchemist tapped his cane on the floor 3 times, and the doors of the physics department burst open. Thousands of bright red balls and hundreds of yellow yo-yos and dozens of magnets came rolling out of the facility and crashed into the oncoming soldiers. The red balls bounced off the skeletons' bony bodies, knocking off their fingers and toes. The yellow yo-yos wrapped strings around the soldiers' feet and tripped them as they ran. The magnets magnetized the skeleton's armor, causing the soldiers to slam into one another and stick together. The Righteous Emperor scoffed at the Institute's first wave of defense. The scientists are putting up a bigger fight than I predicted, Seven said, but they're gonna need more than children's toys to defeat us. Dr. Strand, release the microorganisms, Dr. States commanded, and his voice echoed through the Institute. The biologist kicked open the doors to the biology department, and a stampede of gigantic cells, viruses, and bacteria charged toward the army. White blood cells gobbled up the dead soldiers and held them prisoner inside their nuclei. Neurons thrashed through their long bodies and whipped and wrapped themselves around the skeletons. Viruses rolled through the army, infecting each soldier that they touched, and the skeleton's joints became too achy to move. A small bacterium was cornered by a dozen soldiers, but the bacterium began multiplying and quickly outnumbered them. The Righteous Emperor spit out his wine as he witnessed the microorganisms devouring his army. That's just beginner's luck. Giant microbes, it's true, Seven said with a cocky laugh. The battle's gonna be even more entertaining than we thought. Dr. Storm, release the weather, Dr. States instructed. The meteorology department's umbrella roof rose like the lid of a tea kettle, and several miniature storms erupted from inside. Tornadoes spun across the Institute, sucking the soldiers into their vortex. A miniature hurricane blew through the army, tossing the dead skeletons? Tossing... What did I read? Why did I say that? Tossing the skeletons. The word dead isn't even there. There's not even a D word. What did I see? I don't know. It just says tossing the skeletons across the city with powerful wind. Dark clouds hovered over the soldiers, drenching them with rain and striking them with lightning. Blizzards chased the skeletons across the campus and froze their feet to the ground. The Righteous Emperor and the clansmen were growing more nervous by the second. That has to be it, right? Seven asked the clansmen. They can't possibly have any more up their sleeves. Dr. Stage, release the artifacts, Dr. States ordered, and Dr. Sting, the swarms. The remains of the massive T-Rex, a woolly mammoth, and a dozen cavemen came running out of the anthropology department. The dinosaurs flattened the dead soldiers with its enormous tail, and a mammoth smashed into them with its huge tusks. The cavemen beat them to the ground with their clubs. Next, the window of the entomology department were flung open, and plagues of locust, swarms of wasps, and colonies of ants rained down on the dead soldiers. The locusts piled on top of the skeletons until they could not move. The wasps covered their body in nests, and the ants picked at their bones. The righteous emperor growled angrily as he ripped out handfuls of his hair. "Shall I cancel the champagne, my lord?" the high commander asked. "We need more soldiers. Send in every man we have," Seven yelled. "So we don't have any more soldiers," the high commander said. "Then fetch some crossbows and cannons," Seven said. "The clansmen will attack from the roof." "My lord, your army of the dead is our entire arsenal," the high commander said. "There are no more crossbows or cannons." The righteous emperor's eyes bulged and the veins on his neck throbbed. He grabbed the high commander by his collar and held him over the edge of the roof. "Are you seeing we have nothing left to defend ourselves with?" Seven roared. "We may have a couple of butter knives in the kitchen," the high commander peeped. "My lord," said a clansman, "forgive the interruption, but we might have a bigger problem than the alchemists." "Are you out of your mind?" Seven screamed. "What could be a bigger problem than this?" "Hey, Valerie." The clansmen quickly parted to two sides of the roof so that the righteous emperor could see for himself. While the clansmen had been fixated on the battle in town square, the eastern countryside had turned into a blazing inferno. The sky was covered in thick black smoke, wildfires were spreading rapidly, and from what the righteous emperor could see, the flames were headed straight toward them. "What the devil is that?" he seethed. Ooh, that's the end of the scene. New scene. Bristol, Lucy, Ryder, and Gobzella soared over the northeast ocean aboard Kitty's back. "We don't even know what they took." They just jumped over a whole thing. Ryder steered the dragon southwestward toward the kingdoms and the territories, and she flew as fast as her wings could carry them. The continent eventually appeared on the horizon, and the dragon flew above the border between the northern and eastern kingdoms as she descended toward the city of Ironhand. "All right, have a great day, Valerie." "We should touch down in about 20 minutes, Ryder told the others. They were so high in the sky that the delegates could see for hundreds of miles in each direction, and as Bristol scanned the northern mountains to her right, she suddenly screeched, not because of something she saw, but because of something she didn't see. "What's wrong?" Lucy asked. "Did you see a gremlin on the wing or something?" "No. Look." Bristol pointed toward the northern mountains in a panic. "I don't see anything," Lucy said. "Exactly," Bristol said. "The northern lights are gone." The girls were horrified, but their friends didn't understand. "What's so special about northern lights?" Gobzella asked. "The northern lights mark the presence of the Snow Queen," Lucy explained. "As long as they're in the sky, it means the Snow Queen is trapped inside the northern mountains." "And if northern lights not in sky?" Gobzella asked. "It means she escaped," Bristol said. Ryder did a double take. "I'm sorry again, but who's the Snow Queen?" Lucy rolled her eyes. "Boy, you really need to get out more." Everyone aboard the dragon suddenly went quiet. Their attention was drawn to something rising straight out of the southern horizon. A gargantuan cloud of thick black smoke was billowing up from the countryside, drifting across the full moon like a floating mountain. "I've never seen that much smoke in my life," Ryder said, "and I live on a volcano with dragons." "That is not a normal fire," Bristol said. "The devil's breath has returned." "Oh no. Xanthos," Lucy said. "He's gonna get blamed for this one too." "Change of plans," Bristol told the others. "The Book of Sorcery can wait for another day. We've got to stop the fire before it spreads around the world. Follow that smoke." New scene. Wow, we're just jumping around from people to people today, aren't we? Okay. Immortalia triumphantly led the demons through the countryside toward Chariot Hills. By 2 o'clock in the morning, they finally reached the outskirts of the capital, and Immortalia paused the fiery procession at the top of a high hill. From there, Immortalia could see the entire city below her. She was thrilled to discover that the army of the dead was engaged in a heated battle with the Alchemy Institute. Well, well, well. "Isn't this lucky?" Immortalia told the demons. "We can get rid of the Righteous Empire and the Alchemy Institute in one shot." A wicked laugh erupted from Immortalia's mouth. This was the moment that she had been waiting centuries for. She was finally going to get her revenge by attacking one of the greatest cities in the world, and nothing would stand in her way except a few acres of farmland. "Demons, burn that city to the ground," she ordered. The demons were magically compelled to follow her commands, and they headed toward the city. However, shortly after they began the approach, all the demons stopped in their tracks. Something very strange was hovering above them in the sky. A giant block of ice appeared through the smoky haze as it was flown into the countryside. The ice was hanging from 4 flying broomsticks. Each of the brooms was steered by a witch and carried a fairy passenger. "What on earth is that?" Immortalia asked. "Put her down over there," Esmeralda instructed her friends, and the witches gently set the block of ice on the field between the demons and Chariot Hill. Once the ice was on the ground, the witches and the fairies hopped off the broomsticks and stood in a row behind it. From the hill, Immortalia could see the silhouette of something monstrous inside the ice. After one glance at the creature's tall snowflake crown, she knew exactly who it was. "Oh, aren't they clever?" Immortalia muttered. "They've resurrected the Snow Queen to stop me, but they're going to need more than a little ice to extinguish my fire. Demons, just vaporize that frigid witch." The demons sprinted toward the block of ice, and the fairies and the witches backed away. The demons formed a tight circle around the ice and pressed their flaming bodies against it. Steam surged into the night sky as the ice melted at a rapid pace. "Here we go," Esmeralda told her friends. "Remember, keep focused on the fire and don't let her near the city." Suddenly, the entire countryside was covered in a blinding white flash. The demons surrounding the ice were blasted across the field. The light faded, and the block of ice was gone. The Snow Queen was awake. The witch let out a horrendous moan as she stretched her stiff body for the first time in 2 years. She gritted her rotten teeth. She sniffed the smoky air and growled angrily like an animal recently released from a cage. "Don't just stand there," Immortalia shouted. "Demons! Destroy her!" And although the Snow Queen was blind, she could feel the warmth emitting from the demons' bodies. The witch extended her right hand, and a brand new icicle scepter appeared from her palm. The Snow Queen struck the ground with her scepter and sent a powerful frost in every direction. The cold breeze knocked the fairies, the witches, and the demons off their feet. The frost spread across the countryside and instantly extinguished all the wildfires in the empire. Only the demons themselves were left ablaze. The fairies and the witches helped one another off the ground and stared at the Snow Queen in terror. "She seems more powerful than she was before," Tangerina said. "And angrier," Esmeralda said. Once the demons were back on their feet, they charged against the witch. The Snow Queen pointed her scepter at the ground, creating a thick wall of ice in their path. The demons slammed into the icy barriers, but their bodies were so warm the ice didn't stand a chance for long. The fairies and the witches were so relieved that they watched the Snow Queens battle the demon. "It's working," Skylene said. "Well, she stopped the fires and she's keeping them away from the city," Mrs. V said. "Okay, let's hope it stays that way," Esmeralda said. The fairies and the witches felt a strong wind as something large swooped down from the sky. They looked up and they were shocked to see a massive dragon was flying above their heads. And even more alarming was seeing 4 people who were riding the dragon. "Bristol!" the fairies gasped. "Lucy!" the witches cried. "You're alive!" all the girls cheered together. Kitty landed in front of the field Kitty landed in the field behind the fairies and the witches. Bristol, Lucy, Ryder, and Gobzella quickly climbed off the dragon's back. The fairies and the witches were so excited to see Bristol and Lucy that they tackled their friends to the ground. However, the happy reunion was cut short when the newcomers caught sight of the Snow Queen. "Can someone tell me what she's doing here?" Bristol asked. "You first," Tangerina said. "Where did the dragon come from?" "That's a long story. We'll chat later." "Did you get the Book of Sorcery?" Esmeralda asked. "No, someone has already taken it," Bristol said. "Who?" Skylene asked. Lucy gazed into the distance and dramatically pointed to the hill. "As a matter of fact, she did." "Wait, Princess Proxima has the Book of Sorcery?" Mrs. V asked. "That's not Princess Proxima," Bristol told them. "That's Queen Immortalia. She's the immortal. She took the Book of Sorcery from the Temple of Knowledge centuries ago." "So that's the book she was reading from," Pip said. "The Book of Sorcery must contain a spell that controls the fire people." "Wait, fire people?" Lucy asked. Pip pointed toward the demons battling the Snow Queen. Lucy and Bristol felt as if the wind had been knocked out of their lungs. "The fire's moving like people?" "Pretty awesome, huh?" Stitches said. "This proves that Xanthos is innocent," Bibi said. "We saw Princess Proxima summon the fire in the countryside," Esmeralda said. "We were afraid that the fire was going to destroy the whole empire, so we went to the northern mountains and we brought back the Snow Queen." "And Madame Weatherbury let you do that?" Bristol asked. "Are you kidding? She encouraged it," Tangerina said. "And so far so good," Skylene noted. Bristol was overwhelmed by all the information that her friends were giving her. Her eyes darted around the countryside, from the Snow Queen to the fire people to the Book of Sorcery clutched in Immortalia's arms while she was plotting her next move. "Okay, first things first, we have to get the Book of Sorcery away from Immortalia," Bristol said. "There's a spell inside the book that can stop the Snow Queen and the fires." And then we might want to hurry, Lucy said. It looks like someone's about to beat us to it. The fairies and the witches looked to the hill where Immortalia was standing, and to their surprise, a chariot pulled by 4 enormous jackalopes was sneaking up behind her. The horned rabbits were steered by a young man in black and white checkered armor, while another young man stood behind him. Before Immortalia heard them coming, the chariot sped right past her, and a second young man snatched the Book of Sorcery out of her hands. The fairies and the witches were overjoyed when they recognized the passengers. Xanthos! They all cheered. He's all right, Tangerina said. And he got the book, Skylane said. Wait, why does he want the book? Esmeralda asked. Who cares? Don't look a gift mallet in the beak, Lucy said. The immortal was enraged as she watched the elf and the fairy get away. No, she howled. Demons, after them. You bring back my book. And upon her command, the demons abandoned the duel with the Snow Queen and chased after the chariot. The demon silhouettes charged after the shapeless people. Changed. What? Do I know how to read? Help. The demon silhouettes changed from the shape of people into the shape of tigers. The fiery felines raced after the boys. Elric steered the jackalopes in erratic loops, avoiding being struck by the demon's flaming paws. They need our help, Bristol told her friends. Stitches, Sprout, Phoebe, and Pip, get on your brooms and try to get that book from Xanthos. Ryder and I will follow behind you. Emerald and Tangerina and Skylane and Mrs. V, make sure that the Snow Queen doesn't leave the countryside. Lucy and Gobzella, keep an eye on the immortal. Without a moment to lose, everyone separated to follow Bristol's instructions. The fairies lined up behind the Snow Queen. Lucy and Gobzella spread across the field toward Immortalia, and the witches hopped on their brooms and flew to Xanthos' aid. When the witches arrived, the demons were closing in on the chariot, and they were ready to pounce. Hey, Xanthos, Stitches called down. Up here. Xanthos was surprised to see the witches following him from the air. What are you guys doing here? He asked. We're trying to help you, Sprout said. Toss the Book of Sorcery up here before the fire gets you, Pip said. Wait. This is the Book of Sorcery? Xanthos asked. Just pass us the book, Phoebe said. And seconds before the demons were about to tackle the chariot, Xanthos threw the Book of Sorcery high as he could. Pip swooped through the air and caught the book with her skunk tail. Don't let them get away, Immortalia screamed from the hill. Demons, fly! The demons challenged the silhouettes again, and the fiery felines morphed into a flock of flaming hawks. The birds blazed, soaring after Pip, chasing her through the sky. As the birds zeroed in on her, Pip quickly tossed the Book of Sorcery to Bibi. The hawks abruptly changed course, and Bibi threw the book to Sprout before they got too close, and Sprout covertly passed the book to Stitches as she zipped by, and the demons lost track of it. Hey, Natasha! The witches exchanged the Book of Sorcery from Bibi to Sprout, from Sprout to Pip, from Pip back to Bibi, from Bibi to Stitches, and the demons became confused. Eventually, the demons caught wind of what was happening, and they followed the book as it returned to Stitches. The hawks surrounded Stitches in mid-air and blocked her from passing it to any of the other witches. Stitches, to your left! Kitty did a barrel roll through the air, and the dragon blew the demons across the sky with a powerful wind that her massive wings created. Stitches saw Bristol and Ryder riding on Kitty's back, and she tossed them the Book of Sorcery. The dragon soared higher and higher, but the demons relentlessly followed. Bristol tried to zap the hawks with her wand, but there were too many of them to follow on her own. Bristol, down here, Xanthos called from the ground. I know how to stop the demons. Demons? Bristol asked. It's a long story. Toss me the book. Bristol dropped the Book of Sorcery, and it plummeted toward the earth. Xanthos dived to the ground and caught it in his arms. The demons immediately did a sharp turn and skyrocketed after the book. As the hawks flew straight toward him, Xanthos quickly flipped through the pages. The entire book was written in a language that he didn't understand. Which page is the oath? Xanthos cried. Are there any words that you recognized? Elric asked. No, Xanthos said. What do I do? And as the boys frantically searched through the book, they noticed that each passage included a sketch. There were images of skeletons, newborn babies, full moons, bright suns, flowers, weeds, every animal and insect in existence. Ignore the words. Focus on the illustrations, Elric said. That should give you a hint of what each passage means. Xanthos found an illustration of a throne surrounded by a fire, and he showed it to Elric, and the boys looked at each other with the same wide-eyed expression. This had to be it. Above them, the demons were descending faster and faster, and Xanthos took a deep breath and read the passage from the Book of Sorcery, praying that this was the oath of the Demon King. Demonis Cartus, Demonis Marta, Demonis Infantes, and Demonis Treanta. Xanthos and Elric threw their arms around each other, expecting to be hit with thousands of flaming hawks at once. However, instead of landing on top of the boys, the demons circled around them, and as each demon hit the ground, they took the shape of a person again, and Xanthos slipped out of Elric's arms and floated into the air. His eyes started to glow. A golden crown appeared hovering over his head like an angel's halo, and a cape of fire grew down his back like the wings of a phoenix. It's working, Elric cheered. You did it, Xanthos. The demons were finally freed from the immortal spell, and they knelt before their new leader. Kitty landed beside the demons, and Bristol and Ryder stared at Xanthos in astonishment. What's happening to him? Bristol asked. Why is the fire bowing to him? Because he's the new Demon King, Elric said. Ryder did a double take. I'm sorry. Did he say Demon King? This time I'm just as confused as you are, Bristol said, and Xanthos landed gently on the ground and looked at his crown and cape in awe. Whoa, how do I look? Like you were born for it, Elric said with a smile. And before Bristol had a chance to ask any more questions, Immortalia appeared out of nowhere. She sprinted right past her. The Immortal yanked the Book of Sorcery out of Xanthos' hands and then ran off in the opposite direction. I will not let you ruin this for me, the Immortal yelled over her shoulder. I've waited too long to let you take it from... Not so fast, evil old lady. Gobzella and Lucy jumped in front of Immortalia as she slammed into the goblin's muscular body like it was a brick wall. As Immortalia fell backwards, Lucy hit the ground with her fist and a sinkhole appeared behind her. The Immortal rolled into the hole and hit the bottom with a hard thump. Immortalia moaned and groaned as she tried to climb out, but the sides of the hole were too steep. She was trapped. You'll pay for this, Immortalia screamed. Yeah, send us a bill, Lucy said. Gobzella reached into the hole and pulled the Book of Sorcery out of the Immortal's hands with ease. Head up, fairy godmother, the goblin said and tossed it to her. Bristol could not believe that she was holding the Book of Sorcery. Everything that the fairies had needed to defeat the army of the dead was finally in her hands. She flipped through its ancient pages of parchment, and with each... As with Xanthos, the illustrations helped her guess what each passage was intended for. She assumed the sketch of the wilted flower was for a spell to disarm, and the sketch of a skull was to destroy, and the sketch of a newborn baby was for resurrection. Unfortunately, Bristol was just as devastated as she was relieved. Now that the Book of Sorcery was in her possession, her friends would expect her to kill the Immortal, but Bristol was forced to disappoint them. What are you waiting for? Lucy asked. The Immortal's right in front of you. Knock her dusty old lights out while you got the chance. Bristol turned toward Lucy with tears in her eyes, and she shook her head. I can't, she confessed. Lucy was flabbergasted. What? She asked. But you have to, or you'll die. I'd rather die than spend the rest of my life feeling like a murderer. You can't be serious, Lucy said. This woman just tried to fire the whole world. She doesn't deserve to live, but you do. But I don't want to live with that guilt, Bristol said. Please understand. The girls were sidetracked by the sound of screaming as they looked across the field, and they were reminded that the battle was only half over. Emeralda, Tangerina, Skylene, and Mrs. V were desperately trying to block the Snow Queen from entering Chariot Hills, but the witch was far too powerful. Emeralda had her surrounded in tall emerald pillars, but the Snow Queen demolished them with icy blasts from her scepter. Tangerina tried to stick the witch to the grass, but the Snow Queen froze the fairies' bumblebees before they got close enough to douse her with honey. Skylene hit the witch with geysers of water, but the water froze upon contact and shattered across the ground. Mrs. V pelted the witch's head with the whole set of saucers, which greatly annoyed the Snow Queen, but did nothing to delay her. The Snow Queen waved her scepter and froze the fairies in a giant block of ice. A raspy cackle erupted from the deep within the witch's throat as she entered Chariot Hills and disappeared from Bristol's sight. Demons, thaw out my friends, Xanthos ordered, and please hurry. While the demons raced to save the fairies, both Bristol and Lucy knew their discussion about the Immortal was going to have to wait. We have to stop the Snow Queen, Bristol cried. It doesn't mean that this conversation is over, Lucy said. Gobzella, stay here and make sure that Immortalia doesn't move, Bristol said. Ryder, I need you and Kitty to take me to the city, and fast. Ooh. Okay, well, we're definitely finishing tomorrow. Today, we are on page 452, and I think we only have one chapter left. Yeah, we only have one chapter left, you guys. So actually tomorrow, we'll probably finish this and start the next book. That's kind of cool. I wish it wasn't such a long chapter. I'd just say finish it now, but I have to take her to her class, so I wouldn't make it. But we'll finish tomorrow for sure. We have like nothing left. It's like this much. Crazy. 452 is our page for today. And that is all the news that's fit to print on this front. Oh, you have a job interview tomorrow? That's amazing, Jen. Oh, I'll cross my fingers for you. What time is your interview? I'll send good vibes. I'm gonna go get her ready for her class and her picnic play date. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. That was a crazy 3 chapters. And, oh, so you'll still be with us for book club. That's awesome. It was crazy, crazy chapters. Tomorrow's gonna be even crazier. I expect to cry. I'll probably cry tomorrow. It happens.